so proudly we hailed, and the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights. Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets ran, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say just that star-spangled banner, yeah, wave for the land under the frame, and the home of the brave.
Don't be afraid, this is a low fat, and you are listening to HonestAnswerRadio.com. Now, where is the egg roll you guys promised me?
The views and opinions expressed on the Honest Answer Radio show are the opinions of Honest Answer Media and no one else. If you're hearing a syndicated broadcast of this show, don't hold it against the broadcaster. Rather, congratulate them on their openness, tolerance, and respect for the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America. Thank you very much.
Super scary. Call the troops out in a hurry. This is what we've waited for. This is it, boys. This is war. The president is on the line. It's 99 red balloons
Hey, welcome. One more time to Honest Answer Radio here on HonestAnswerRadio.com, where we're kicking the mainstream media in the teeth every chance we get. If this is your first time listening to the show, I'm going to be the Marty half of your dynamic hosting duo this fine Tuesday evening.
And on the Tuesday evening version of Honest Answer Radio, I will be the Casey half of this show. Did you know, was you in a coma this weekend? Did you know that Russia's invaded Ukraine?
Yeah, so you notice our introduction music there, bringing us back from the 80s. I figure that, here we are on the verge of the Cold War starting back up again. Might as well bring back some good old Cold War music. There was some good music coming out of the Cold War.
Well, yeah.
Your beard is tickling your microphone there, dude. You're going to have to shave that thing. You looking like old man
No way.
Christmas.
Never.
Dude, what is happening? What in the world is happening here?
Well,
is this nuance?
Well, John Kerry is nuancing like crazy. I mean, he's been everywhere slinging nuance. He's in Kiev right now with having a dump truck full of nuance delivered to the conference.
Oh, I tell you, man, the Obama camp, they're all, every time somebody's brought this up, they're like, I mean, you can see them just grasping at straws here because this just can't be happening.
Well, you mentioned the 80s. The 80s have called, Mr. President. Their foreign policy is back.
Oh, yeah. It's funny. You should bring that very thing up right there because, somebody else used something like those words there. and it just so happens to have been our president. Back in
it wasn't that long ago, dude. We're talking 2 years ago.
A couple of years ago. Not even 2 years ago, really.
Well, that's true.
In a debate with Mitt Romney.
Yeah. Because Mitt Romney, he said, hey, man, if, you don't show a little backbone, Russia is probably going to invade Ukraine.
And he referred to Russia as our number one geopolitical
enemy.
Foe or enemy.
Did he say foe or enemy?
He probably used both words.
I think if you look those up in a dictionary of synonyms, you'll find that they mean the same thing.
But
so
the president took great delight in that.
Oh yeah.
Matter of fact, he wasn't Mitt Romney wasn't the only one. Back in 2008, that's that's what almost 6 years ago. Mm-hmm. Sarah Palin said pretty much the same thing. She said, look,
if you don't do something about Russia invading Georgia,
Ukraine's next. And what a dinkus they said she was. They had so much fun, poking fun at her, mocking her. Mm-hmm. And matter of fact, saying that just showed how ignorant she was of foreign policy. Because that was just ludicrous. The very idea, just what do you think Vladimir Putin is? This isn't, this isn't the 1800s. People don't just invade foreign countries, even though Saddam Hussein invaded one, back in 91.
Yeah.
That just never happens.
See, I think over the weekend and yesterday, I can't tell you, I think about 4 or 5 people I saw using the terms fantasy world when describing what's in the White House, the Obama administration's head. And not just them, but the left-wing liberal media. I mean, look, guys, we appreciate that you want the world to be different than it is. Mm-hmm. We understand that. The thing is, we don't live in that world. And we have to live and carry on our politics and our foreign policy in the real world. But, Sarah Palin and Mitt Romney, they were just crazy.
Dude, listen to this. There was a thing on the Blaze that they put a clip up from I think it was Beck's morning show, his radio show, and they compiled a little montage, if you will, about 1.5 minutes worth of them poking fun at Mitt and Sarah, saying just how crazy and cuckoo they were for this. Listen to this, man. This kind of made me giggle.
Russia. This is, without question, our number one geopolitical foe.
You don't call Russia our number one enemy. Not Al-Qaeda, Russia. Mm-hmm. Unless you're still stuck in a Cold War mind warp.
He's even blurted out the preposterous notion that Russia is our number one geopolitical foe.
It's preposterous.
Folks, Sarah Palin said she could see Russia from Alaska. Mitt Romney talks like he's only seen Russia by watching Rocky IV.
That's quite
Mitt Romney
a
did
line.
in fact call Russia our number one geopolitical foe. He said that in March of this year, in the 2000s.
I don't know what decade this guy's living. It sounds like it's 1972, 52 even. It's not Stalin over there. It's not Khrushchev. It's not Brezhnev.
Yeah.
Governor Romney not too long ago said, the Russian Federation is our number one geostrategic threat. Well, come on, think.
Colin Powell.
It isn't the case.
The 1980s are now
Unreal.
calling to ask for their foreign policy back because
That's funny.
the Cold War's been over for 20 years. But, Governor, when it comes to our foreign policy, you seem to want to import the foreign policies of the 1980s, just like the social policies of the 1950s and the economic policies of the 1920s.
That last little gig there.
Yeah.
You want the foreign policy of the 80s,
the social
policies
of the 50s.
Of the 50s and the economic policies of the 20s. You know, they made a big deal, of, and they still do. They take great delight in saying that us conservatives always want to go back, you know, that we're not happy living in today's world, that all we think about is the way things were. And when they talk about, you know, like he's saying, the president's dig there, the social policies of the 50s. That was his little way of saying, you're a bigot, you're a racist.
And you're wanting wanting to bring back segregation, which
no conservative has mentioned that. Not even a little bit, never, not once. In all of the debates, on all of the talk shows, he can't find, there's no way you're going to find a clip of any of those candidates saying, man, wouldn't it be great if we could bring segregation back? Wouldn't it be awesome if we could start repressing black people again? That would be, that's what we want. And he says, you know, you want to bring back the economic policies of the 20s. Like, you know, the Vanderbilts and the Rockefellers, you know, where they had people going in with baseball bats and cracking skulls if people wanted to strike or anything like that.
Now, you know, the thing is, when he starts that crack about the economic policies of the 20s, yeah, those mean old Rockefellers creating all of those jobs. The Vanderbilts building those railroads and putting all those people to work and opening up the country to so people could move rapidly from one coast to the other and goods could travel from one coast to the other. Those dirty, dirty people, how dare they do that? How dare they create that much wealth?
Well, now look.
And then give so much of it away. The Rockefeller Foundation.
Look, man.
You know.
Now, granted, the Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts, J.P. Morgan, all those, look, they were not saints. And they did do some pretty shisty things to people. However, that little point you're bringing up there about creating jobs and also creating wealth for other people, see, they don't want to bring that part up.
They also don't want to bring up the part that, you know, this administration, I'm not going to say they've been worse than other administrations, but I will say this administration has been at least as bad at practicing crony capitalism as any other administration in the history of administrations.
And they have done I would say they've done more to send us back to those economic times of the 20s than any other administration since
back
then.
in the 20s. See, what he's thinking of is the big crash of 1929. Well, see, we're heading for another crash because, see, right now the only people in this country who are doing well are the ultra-rich. Now, is that because of Republican policies when we've got a Republican president and a Democrat president and a Democratic Senate?
No.
See,
as a matter
how
of
does
fact,
that work
we
like
have a Republican House that has been crippled by a Democratic executive branch and a Democratic Senate.
And their own fecklessness.
Their own fecklessness. But the Obama administration has done more to send us back to those crashes than anybody else since that time.
Since Obama has gotten into office, the rich haven't gotten poorer. They've gotten way richer, and the poor have gotten poorer.
I was going to say, now the poor have definitely gotten poorer, and the middle class, you know, the ones that they
do we still have one of those?
Well, that's what I was going to say. The middle class that the Obama administration and all of the Democrats have said that they care so much about and that they want to do so much for has virtually disappeared because of those very policies. But swinging on back to what's happening today, that all just goes to show just how out of touch the Obama camp is to the real world. You know, they in all those clips they keep wanting to act as if Mitt Romney and Sarah Palin were so out of touch with today's times, too busy thinking about long ago.
Well, see, the problem that Sarah Palin and Mitt Romney and a whole lot of other conservatives out there, the problem that we have is that we tend to remember history.
Yeah.
That must, I mean, it must be just really, really wrong for us to go back over history and look at things that worked and say, aha, we like that. It worked.
Yeah.
And then we look at the things that didn't work, like peace in our time, appeasement, and that whole branch, and we say, see, that didn't work.
Uh-huh.
And then things happen, as in the real world actually keeps moving on and progressing in the way that conservatives keep predicting. We've been back here saying, if you keep this up, if you keep showing weakness, if you keep looking indecisive, if you don't actually say, you know what, we do have a military. Let's show you what our military, how big it is, and how many places we can send it. When you don't do that, then people like Vladimir Putin, and right before I came in here to do the show, I was looking on the Drudge Report, and guess what? China's getting in the mix now.
Yeah.
See,
Granted, I'm not advocating the United States becoming involved militarily here in the Ukraine. We said, just last week, this is a European problem. This is something that Europe needs to deal with. However, Ronald Reagan virtually ended the Cold War without ever having to fire a shot, without having to, go through the peace in our time, and without the nuanced foreign policy approach of John Kerry. But we had peace through strength.
Yeah, see,
the Star Wars program that Reagan started played a huge...
scared the crap out of the Russians because they were not ready for it. They had plenty of nuclear-tipped missiles.
Not to mention we had a lot of, we were a big energy producer. We were extremely involved in oil production and coal manufacturing.
See, not only did we have the military might, but we had the industrial might to back up our military. Well, see, everybody looks at us and see, guidance systems for missiles. Are we even making the circuit boards for that, or are we buying those from somebody else? See,
we're
buying
those.
Electronics and stuff are important. And we're not manufacturing those here in the United States, or we're doing very little of that. We're farming those out to other countries.
We're not really manufacturing much of anything anymore.
And see, it's that whole domestic policy that we were bringing up ties right into our foreign policy. And yeah, you were bringing up that Europe has some issues. Yeah, because see, the thing is, Europe has been spending a lot of their money here in the last few years on green initiatives and bailing out the weakest members of the European Union. They've invested so much in centralized control. All right. Do you think that people like Putin or China, that these people aren't paying attention?
Oh, see, yeah, and that's the whole point. China is paying attention. China is, they are doing everything that we over here in this country are not. It's almost as if China has adopted a lot of the policies that Reagan was employing back then, by building up, stockpiling energy. I guess you can not necessarily stockpiling it.
Well,
but they're
they've been
definitely
innovating in their military.
Yes.
They've been building very, very quiet submarines and putting them out in the field.
While we're over in this country, we're putting the brakes on all of that. They've been building their military. We've been dismantling ours.
And the president is so mad that he's getting slammed for this stuff because this is his intent.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to back the United States side of world affairs. Well, did you not think you were going to get criticized for that, Mr. President? But, I mean, honestly, I look at Europe, and, I mean, I'm not slamming our British friends because a lot of folks in Britain have been screaming the same things that we are.
Yeah.
The EU is not necessarily as popular in Britain as David Cameron would have everyone, believe. And Margaret Thatcher had warned against it. She was not for the EU.
Right.
Okay. Because what would happen is strong countries would then become weak because the strong countries have to give of their treasure, their wealth, their manpower to bring the weak countries up so that everybody settles down to an unhappy medium.
Right.
And the centralized control leads to mediocrity. And what have we got in foreign policy right now?
Crap.
Crap. Mediocrity.
Nuance, that's what we've got.
Yeah, we got bucket loads of nuance and nothing to back it up.
Listen to John Kerry. Now, this was funny. This was over the weekend. John Kerry went...
Talking to Boy George Stephanopoulos?
No. David Gregory.
David Gregory, yeah.
Isn't that the Meet the Press, David Gregory?
I think so.
Well...
I get all those communists look alike.
He's apoplectic about all of this because in his mind, this just isn't done. These types of maneuvers, they just aren't done in the 21st century. My God, man, Putin is just out of control. He seems to think that this is the 1800s, and you just can't invade a foreign country. But he did. Listen to this.
Well, we're now discussing all of the options. This is an act of aggression that is completely trumped up in terms of its pretext. It's really 19th century behavior, the 21st century. And there is no way to start with that if Russia persists in this, that the G8 countries are going to assemble in Sochi. That's a starter. But there's much more than that. Russia has major investment and trade needs and desires. I think there's a unified view by all of the foreign ministers I talked with yesterday, all of the G8 and more, that they're simply going to isolate Russia, that they're not going to engage with Russia in a normal business-as-usual manner, that Russia is inviting opprobrium on the international stage. There could even be, ultimately, asset freezes, visa bans. There could be certainly a disruption of any of the normal trade routine. There could be business drawback on investment in the country. The ruble is already going down and feeling the impact of this. And this is not, the reason for this, David, is because you just don't invade another country on phony pretext in order to assert your interests. Well, but there are ways to deal with it. And President Putin knows that. President Obama yesterday offered mediation. There are plenty of ways to protect Russian-speaking people in Crimea or other parts of Ukraine. But, they're really there's sort of a hidden pretext here of possibly trying to annex Crimea.
Is there a military option? There is, as you know, a security arrangement with Ukraine that goes back to the 90s between the U.S. and Ukraine and other Western powers. Does NATO draw a line here to try to check any further aggression beyond Crimea into the eastern part of Ukraine?
Well, NATO is meeting today. The North Atlantic Council is meeting probably even as we speak now. They will be. I know that Secretary General of NATO, Rasmussen, issued a statement, very strong statement against what has happened. But I don't know what is actually on the table with respect to the steps they may or may not take.
Yeah, NATO issued a very strongly worded statement, Casey.
Opprobrium. He said there could be opprobrium for this. In other words, NATO and the EU are going to go, stop it.
You can't do it. And listen, you just can't invade a foreign country on a foreign pretext. I don't know if you noticed this or not there, Johnny Boy, but he did. Phony pretext. Does it matter what his pretext was? Does it matter what Putin's rationale is behind this move? Or does it matter more that they've done it? If anybody should understand that it's not what you can or can't do, it's what you will or won't do, it should be the Obama camp. Because, in theory, our executive branch can't just pick and choose what parts of the laws that they want to enforce, but they do. In theory, the executive branch can't sick the IRS on conservative groups and cripple them.
But they do.
But they do. So why would it be such a shock that someone like Vladimir Putin would invade a country, whether it be on a phony pretext or whether he has legitimate reason or not? I also saw him today saying, this is a clear violation. And I saw this last night on Rachel Maddow's show. It's a clear violation of international law. Well, so what? What are we going to do about it? The same thing that we did to Syria? Oh yeah, that's right. We didn't do anything to Syria when they stepped over that red line drawn in the sand.
And, here's another thing. This is where diplomacy has completely gone off the rails in the Obama administration. Because, see, it's not like Ukraine has had the most stable of governments since they broke off from the former Soviet Union.
No.
Okay, they have had some. I mean, that woman, was it Timofeyevich? Was that her name or something? Anyway, she was sort of nuts.
Sort of, yeah.
Okay. All along, the United States has had opportunity after opportunity to both use diplomacy and military might to make our point.
Right.
See, the missile shield in Poland and Czechoslovakia, remember that?
Uh-huh.
Okay. We could have stood firm on that sort of thing, and at the same time, taken away all of Vladimir Putin's pretext by initiating an agreement between Russia and Ukraine, a strong agreement on access to the Crimea, because Russia, let's face it, they need the Crimea. Because otherwise, they can't get to the Mediterranean. They can't get all the oil that they have to the Mediterranean. Well, you know what? Europe is buying a lot of Russian oil.
Right.
So they need it as bad as anybody else. Europe should have taken a strong stand in Ukraine, but they wasted their opportunities there too.
Yep.
So, yet again, failures of European strategies and European diplomacy are ending up in the U.S. having to take a stand one way or another, see? Because that's what we've got here. Now we're at a point where everybody turns around to look at Barack Obama and go, well, what are you going to do?
The same thing he's always done. I mean, the answer there is clear. He's going to do the same thing he's always done.
And, the thing is us conservatives back here in the United States are looking over there at Europe and going, you knew he was a dumbass when you started this conversation.
Well, man, look, leading up to the 2008 election and leading up to the 2012 election. More importantly, the 2012 election, because we had already had 4 years of the guy.
Right.
But leading up to the 2008 election, you and I were pretty clear in saying, look, this guy has no experience with foreign policy at all.
And even, we were saying, though, if you elect the guy, who is he going to put in charge of foreign policy?
Mm-hmm.
And we were going, please don't let it be Hillary Clinton.
And that's exactly what he did. And when Hillary Clinton was going to step down, back when she had made, when she was just kicking around the idea of stepping down, and, the idea of Kerry coming in was being floated, we were saying, please, not John Kerry.
If we were begging, like on our knees.
And the reason for that is because these people have no backbone.
We already heard, when John Kerry ran against George Bush in what was 2004, back then I was saying, oh my Lord, because that's when he broke out, well, I would have a more nuanced foreign policy. Oh gosh, please, because I know what that means. It means nothing.
Right.
It means nothing.
Well, see, their
idea...
It
means talk, and it means not backing up talk with action, because Kerry has been critical of every bit of U.S. military intervention ever since he's been alive. Yeah. He threw his medals over the White House fence, the medals he got in Vietnam, the ones he put himself in for, by the way.
Right.
But, every military intervention that the United States has done, John Kerry has criticized because, in his mind, it should never be on the table because he has absolutely no idea how to use the military.
No. Well, his idea of using the military is to not use the military, period. They have no clue as to how things are really done in the real world militarily. And look, we don't have to use the thing is, you don't necessarily have to use our military. Ronald Reagan didn't make a big use of our military.
We went down and beat up Grenada when it was time, and he sent one missile to Gaddafi. Okay, and straightened Gaddafi up.
Yeah, you don't have to have, I'm sick of these cliches, but you don't have to have boots on the ground to make your point militarily.
All you have to do is make sure that everybody knows that you have a ready military. That's all Ronald Reagan did. He made sure that our military was ready.
And that
remember what last week you I think you played that clip where who was it that went and called Ronald Reagan up? No, it was Dick Cheney.
Yeah.
Called Ronald Reagan up.
Said
thank you for building up the military. This was back in 1991 when we had to invade Iraq the first time.
That's how come China has so much stroke right now, man, because they make a big show of the advancements that they're getting in their military. And like today, just this very day, Vladimir Putin made a show of test firing an ICBM, an intercontinental ballistic missile. He didn't fire it at anyone. They just test fired it. They've been sending their warships right off of our coast, just on the outskirts of our international or of our waters, our coasts. China has been doing the same thing. That is a show of military force without actually having to, use the military.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that they won't use it, and that was Ronald Reagan's doctrine right there. Don't mean we won't use it just because we're showing you that it's here.
And it's also a way of showing just what your military would be capable of. Like this, sending their warships into our waters is their way of saying, look, if we wanted to do something to you, we're right here and we could have already done it. That is exactly what Ronald Reagan did back in the 80s. We had these big displays of what our military would be capable of.
But see, it wasn't just show, because our military was ready.
Yeah. But, you know, Sarah Palin, if we could get back to her, she made a pretty good point about perception. You got somebody like Vladimir Putin, that the world sees him as a guy that, man, he wrestles bears. And then you got Barack Obama wearing his mom jeans. It's perception. He wants to, the Obama camp wants to believe that the world's perception of him just doesn't matter. You know, we keep saying how weak he looks and how that really, would affect and does affect the way some of these foreign countries will act towards us. The Obama administration wants to keep their head in the sand and go, no, it doesn't. No, it really doesn't matter.
They made so much fun of George Bush because George Bush, every chance he got to be with the troops, he took it. He wore his flight jacket from his days when he was actually in the Air Force. Because, hey, he actually served in the military.
Yeah, that's something, that they wouldn't know anything about.
So, but, he made it a point to be with our military folks every time he got the opportunity to do it. Something that that Obama avoids, like the plague.
Right.
Or if he appears with the military, it's to make sure that everybody knows he's the boss.
Right.
See, with George Bush, you would see him with his arms around folks. Okay. With Obama, he doesn't have his arms around them. He's making sure that he's up elevated a little bit, make sure that they understand, because
he's the commander-in-chief.
Yes, and the boss.
That whole perception thing really plays into just how the rest of the world is going to act towards us.
Yeah, but George Bush was so dumb.
Oh, yeah. Well, and so was Sarah.
Yeah.
Sarah was just so dumb. She was clueless, She had no idea of how to initiate foreign policy. She was ignorant, Well, let's listen to this little clip that we got from Sarah from yesterday.
Well, anyone who carries the common sense gene would know that Putin doesn't change his stripes. He harkens back to the era of the czars, and he wants that Russian Empire to grow again. He wants to exert a huge power and dominance, so he has to get to those border areas and he has to capture them. But you know what, Sean? More importantly, than we were right on that, I'm right when I talk about that inherent link between energy and security, energy and prosperity. And when we don't develop our resources, and when we are not able to feed others with our resources, and so many others are reliant upon Russia, who does develop their resources, and with that wealth are able to strengthen their military and their influence and power on the globe, then other nations are in trouble. It's especially under the commander-in-chief that we have today, because the perception of him and his potency across the world is one of such weakness. People are looking at Putin as one who wrestles bears and drills for oil. They look at our president as one who wears mom jeans and equivocates and bloviates. We are not exercising that peace through strength that only can be brought to you courtesy of the red, white, and blue, that only a strengthened United States military can do.
Yeah. All right, look.
Yeah, she's so ignorant.
She's so dumb.
She has no clue what she's talking about there. See, the strength through energy. See, that's another thing that this Obama administration has no clue about. Instead of, like, we've got this Keystone Pipeline.
No, we don't.
Well, okay. We could have the Keystone Pipeline, one of the largest natural gas pipelines in the world.
Piping down from Canada.
Right here at our fingertips, man.
Yeah. Not to mention, we've got all these, massive shale deposits for fracking.
Uh-huh.
But
no, we can't do that, Casey. We can't do that because Barack feels that would somehow affect climate change. We've got coal running out our ears in this country. But instead of embracing the coal industry, which, by the way, was one of our largest employment opportunities in this country,
well, that was before.
He promised to choke them off.
And he's done it.
Into non-existence.
It's one of the promises that he kept.
Yeah. He said he would make it so expensive that they would not be able to operate. Instead of adding to our energy production in this country, he views it as a sin and has subtracted it. Everything that made this country great, he has
turned mediocre.
Worse than mediocre. He's taken it away. I mean, even with our military. Our military is one of the things that have kept foreign countries from invading our soil. It's one of our military, or the fear of our military, has been one of the things that have kept some of these
it's kept them not just from invading our own shores, but it's kept them inside their own boundaries.
That's right, and kept them from invading some of our allies. Like Ukraine. People that we've had long-standing agreements with, that we will help protect you. He's taken that away. Right now, we talked about it last week. He's promised that he is going to shrink our military back down to pre-World War II numbers. You've been talking about the littoral ships that potentially could make our Navy leaner and meaner and more ready to fight and defend, or not just us, but some of our allies, instead of embracing that. No.
How many new submarines have we built?
How much new submarine technology have we developed? When I was in the Navy, our sonar technology was envied all over the globe. The Russian Navy, man, they had people all in this country trying every way they could to get their hands on our submarine technology.
The daylights out of it to get a hold of our submarine and our sonar technology.
And they were willing to pay big bucks to anybody that would give them anything about our sub-technology. Bill Clinton sold some of our technology to the Chinese, which I still regard as one of the biggest acts of treason ever committed by a president of the United States.
We just sold it.
Just sold it to China. Granted, it was obsolete for our military.
Let them spy it out themselves. Make them go through the effort.
Just because we didn't use it anymore, why in the world would we want to give our enemies technology that they didn't have? That, by the way, they've taken that very technology that Bill Clinton sold to them
and made some
have
very, very quiet submarines.
Yeah.
Now.
They took it, they analyzed it, and they made a better product out of it that that our military now, our Navy, very well could have to deal with in the future. And instead of us improving our own technology, he's taken the funding for that. Because after all, Solyndra needed it.
And in the meantime, he's taken good money, or wants to take the good money that we've got a nice, tried, true, and proven ground attack fighter in the A-10.
Yep.
One that, again, is feared
Yep.
on the battlefield.
Yep.
Okay. They took money from that program to invest it into this F-35 fighter, which is just problem after problem after problem. Now, there's a certain point when you go to your military contractors and you say, this sucks.
Everything that has made our country great, the president has tried to do away with it. Everything. You know, even down to our health care. One of the things that made this country great was our health care. And the quality of health care that you could get in this country. People from all over the world, when they got sick, they came to the United States.
And yes, see, the problem was you had to pay for your health care here.
Ah, no.
See, that's the problem. It wasn't free. Well, you know, the free stuff is not innovative.
See, those countries that had the free health care that you didn't have to pay for, their citizens came here willing to pay for it because,
it was because it worked.
And, you know, if you got to pay to live, 20, 30 years more, they figured it was worth it. But see, all that's going away a little bit at a time. You know, I saw something over the weekend. Rahm Emanuel's brother, Ezekiel, you remember him, good old Zeke.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
He said this weekend that very soon insurance companies are going to be a thing of the past. Now, that sounds awfully like this has been the plan all along.
Haven't we been saying that?
Seems like we had a clip from back in, I think, 2007 of the president giving one of his little stump speeches and saying that his goal
single payer
was to get down to single payer and make insurance companies a thing of the past. And it seems like no one believed him when he said that. Or the mainstream press, they didn't want to play that part of it. All they wanted to play was those clips that said you wouldn't have to pay to go to the doctor anymore.
Mm-hmm. Except now certain restaurants like that one down in Florida are people, they're having to pay a surcharge.
Oh, man.
Affordable Care
That
Act
is making
surcharge.
That is making people in the mainstream media, particularly over there at MSNBC, that little story is making their heads spin around. And in case you guys didn't know, there's a restaurant down in Florida that, the Obamacare, it hit them pretty hard, just like it's hitting all the other small businesses in the country. And it's made it more difficult for them to be able to afford to keep their employees, and they figured, well, gosh, if they're gonna pass some cost on to us small businesses, the only recourse we have to
stay profitable,
keep bringing money in so that we can keep our employees, is if we pass that cost along to the consumer. So they've tacked a 1% surcharge onto your meals, and it's on the receipt as an ACA surcharge.
But see, what they're actually doing is just being honest.
Yeah.
They said our cost went up, so we're showing you on your receipt that you're having to pay extra because of this.
That's right. And one of the MSNBC hosts, she went nuts about it. I've got the clip somewhere here. She's under the impression that, well, that's just illegal. That they shouldn't be allowed to do
but don't
that.
Don't. Her name is Alex Witt.
Is it Witt or West?
Witt.
Witt. Okay.
Alex Witt with MSNBC's one of the weekend shows, And
Yeah, I don't want to put words in her
No.
mouth. You're right. I'll just play it.
One restaurant chain in Florida is now asking its customers to help foot the bill for Obamacare. Diners at Gators Dockside are discovering a 1% surcharge added to their bills when they ask for the check. Joining me now, reporter Josh Thomas from NBC affiliate WFLA in Tampa. So, Josh, okay, explain this. I'm looking right now, by the way, at a receipt, and I'm seeing on this $22 bill, you've got a 20 cents ACA surcharge.
Basically, it's a 1% surcharge that this restaurant, Gators Dockside, is going to charge its customers. We do need to note that it's not all the Gators Docksides here in Florida, but a select number, basically in Central Florida and some of them up in Jacksonville. Basically, they say that they have to charge this 1% surcharge fee to cover the cost of the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. They claim that they're doing this because they feel that they have to stay afloat, and they say that they do not want that insurance cost to impact their business in a negative way.
Okay, so what has been the reaction to this surcharge?
Well, it depends on who you ask. We've talked to several customers outside the restaurant in Lakeland, Florida. Some of them say they understand why the business is charging this extra fee. Others say that it's just part of the cost of doing business, and they don't understand why there's a sign on the front of the door, as well as basically something that they had customers inside the restaurant notifying them of this 1% surcharge. Here's what some of the customers we talked to had to say.
I think to not support them, but I'm curious, Josh, is it even legal to just add on a surcharge like that? I mean, it's essentially a tax.
Basically, it is a tax, and quite frankly, they said they're doing it so that they don't have to have an additional tax on the customers who come in. But it is a 1% surcharge. One can ask the question, well, why don't you add a surcharge for the cost of electricity, or the cost of leasing out your business, or the cost of basically ordering the food that the people are going to eat? Mm-hmm. One can argue it, but it is their business, and so I guess they can do however they want to do it.
Is it even legal, Casey, for them to... Can they just charge what they want to, all willy-nilly?
For their product that they're selling you?
Should they be allowed to pass on a cost to the consumer? I mean, my gosh.
What are they, a business?
Should it be legal for them to tell their customers that they've had an increase in the cost of doing business that was put on them directly by the President of the United States? Should they be allowed to give the President bad press right there on their receipts? Surely somebody should do something about this, Casey.
Because, I mean, what do they think they are, Marty? A business? Are they in this to make a profit?
Oh, they better not be. They better... Look, this administration has worked very, very hard to make sure that the people in this country know that turning a profit is immoral.
Yeah. You know, it's like, what, they can just raise their prices?
Is it even legal? Even though...
It makes you wonder...
Even though the Obama administration has, single-handedly raised the price of health care in this country, is it legal for just a plain old business to do that? It's a tax. Just like Obamacare.
Yeah, it's, makes you wonder, Alex Witt, what planet do you live on, woman? And the reporter she's talking to, well, I guess it's their business. They can do what they want. Yeah, they actually can. That's how private business works. If they are perfectly free to reveal to you where your money goes. Why don't they just charge you for the electricity they consume? Well, they do.
They do.
That stuff has to be factored into the cost of the food they give you. They're going to charge you for the food that they're for placing the order? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's called a business.
That's sort of why you get a receipt. That's sort of why they put prices on the menu, because it costs money to have waiters and waitresses, and it costs money to buy the food.
How do you get a job at MSNBC?
By being a complete idiot, apparently.
I mean, did they ask you all these questions? If you get any of them right, you can't work for their station.
Hey, man, lean forward, Casey.
Yeah. I mean, my Lord,
it's just progress, man.
I mean, here this woman is just absolutely incredulous that a business owner is charging.
Well, look, man, it all comes down to protecting the image of Barack Obama.
That's what businesses go into business for.
That's
to protect the image of the president. Well, not just any president, Barack Obama.
I've never seen the media protect the image of a president as much as they try to protect this one.
I mean, I thought they
really
fawned over John F. Kennedy. I mean, but at least there was something to fawn over there. PT 109. I mean, you know,
but not while he was president.
That's not what your country can do for you.
Not while he was president. When John F. Kennedy was the president of the United States, the press was not that kind to him. He only got his elevated status after he was assassinated. Because remember this whole the Bay of Pigs thing? They ripped him a new one for that. He was a laughing stock because of that. But the only thing that he really got praise from the press about was the Cuban Missile Crisis, was him standing up, you know, to the Soviets.
Well, he actually had some backbone.
Yeah. But when he was president, no, they didn't protect
well, they
his image.
ripped him for cutting taxes.
You know, nowadays, Ronald Reagan is you know, almost looked at like he was a saint. But when he was the president, was the press that kind to him? Absolutely not. No way, no how. No matter what good, no matter the fact that he took the country from a 9% unemployment rate down to less than 5% unemployment rate.
Just ask Ollie North.
No matter that he took the inflation rate from double digits down to, again, less than 5%. It was something like 4%. They still harped on him constantly.
You just don't get it. You
but this guy,
you're
this
bringing
president,
facts into the argument again, and you know better than that.
But hey, man, this president, it doesn't matter how much he screwed up this country. Mainstream outlets like NBC and MSNBC, hosts like Andrea Mitchell and Brian Williams and Rachel Maddow and Chrissy McTingles or David Gregory or the angry Greek, George Stephanopoulos, or is it Snuffleupagus, whatever.
Boy George Snuffleupagus.
Yeah, Boy George Snuffleupagus. Those people view it as their job not to report news, which would be all of the ruin that Barack Obama has brought down on this country, but even if they have to lie to protect his image, they view it as their job.
And, or not, sometimes they don't actually lie. They just feel like last night, remember we were eating dinner and we were listening to Brian Williams. So, I mean, there was about 3 or 4 minutes of what's going on in the Ukraine, and the rest of it was filler.
Or
crap.
Now, when they did talk about the Ukraine, though, it wasn't really about the failure of the Obama administration or the fact that how weak he is.
It was about that dirty old Vladimir Putin.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we know he's dirty, but
we've been that was the whole point. Sarah Palin, Mitt Romney, us, a whole bunch of people were talking about how evil he was, and now all of a sudden you're going to look surprised because he flipped the president the bird and said, "Do something about it."
I mean,
they
are shocked.
They put all of the blame squarely on the shoulders of Vladimir Putin, and none of the blame, no responsibility at all, goes on Barack Obama.
That's just how it is.
That's your mainstream media, folks.
I mean, they're shocked, Marty, shocked that history is repeating itself.
Shocked. Well, dude, our rainbow has come to an end.
Already?
Yeah. But, you know, I always say, time flies when you're angry.
But now wait, you can't go yet. You can't go into the donate button or the sponsors page because
well, I do have a little something.
You have a little something to tell people.
Well, I do. You know, Honest Answer Radio, we've we have really great sponsors with really great products. That's sort of what we pride ourselves on, right? You know, every show, when we speak about our sponsors page, we talk about, you know, we feel it's our job to make sure that our listeners get the best of everything, no matter what.
Right.
Well, you know, we are huge fans of the electronic cigarette. Huge fans, because it has essentially helped us quit smoking. And we wanted to be able to have sponsors like V2 and My Freedom Smokes, you know, because they've got great products at great prices. And we fell in love with these things so much that we wanted to get involved with them ourselves. So, coming soon to lungs near you, Honest Answer Radio will have our very own e-liquid or e-juice, whatever you want to call it, for your e-cigarette. When you buy your batteries and other supplies from people like V2 or My Freedom Smokes, you can get the liquid that you put in there from right here at Honest Answer Radio.
But it won't be, well, actually, no. No, don't tell people lies. You won't be getting it through Honest Answer Radio because we've had to, you know, because we're not going to have Honest Answer Radio e-juice.
No.
There will be, we're establishing a new brand.
Yeah.
Now, we're not,
exciting.
now, by the way, this doesn't mean we're shoving Honest Answer Radio to the side.
Oh, no.
You know, no.
This is in addition to.
This is in addition to. Not only will you be able to come to us for your political rants, but we will have some e-liquid.
Well, you know, we've discovered that while we've been using these electronic cigarettes, that not all e-liquid or e-juice is created equal.
No,
we've had to endure some pretty bad stuff.
Well, we have tried all these different flavors, and some of them are very high quality.
Oh, yes.
But through our own experimentation, we have found how to make high quality flavors ourselves and tailor them to our particular likes. What we're doing here is we're just going to share that.
That's right. And we're going to share it at an affordable cost. Because, look, in shopping around for some of these e-juices and e-liquids, you know, it can, you know, you're going to have to pay for this stuff. But we've also found that not only can we produce high-quality e-liquid, we can produce it at a price that is affordable.
Yeah.
And look, man, I've got the stuff. As a matter of fact, I have some e-liquid that was made with my very own hands in my electronic cigarette right now. I have been vaping or smoking on it, whatever you want to call it, all throughout the show. You know why?
Because it tastes good.
It tastes good. As a matter of fact, what I have right here in my electronic cigarette is a vanilla cola mixture. A French vanilla cola mixture.
See, I sampled yours. And while I like it, you know that my tastes run more to the fruity flavors. Well, we've developed some of those too. So, here in the future, keep your eyes on Facebook, keep your eyes on honestanswerradio.com, and you will see a new website going to pop up. Because we're going to have to do this thing through a separate website. We're not providing hardware.
No, just
liquid. Just the liquid. We don't want to get into having to keep a stockpile of all the
well, you know,
the batteries.
Sometimes you have to take a battery back. You have to return batteries or some of the atomizers that go on on these electronic
And frankly,
cigarettes.
companies like V2 and MyFreedomSmokes.com are doing a better job about providing those quality products than we could.
Absolutely.
So, you know,
we want to give you something that you can use, that you don't have to worry about it breaking down on you or anything, and we want it to be high quality. We want to give you enjoyment.
And get you off of tobacco. Because we've been tobacco-free. We'd like for you to be tobacco-free, too.
So, keep that in mind. Keep it on your radar. Keep your eyes open, because it is coming very, very soon. And in the meantime, feel free to look down there at that little yellow donate button. And feel free to donate to Honest Answer Radio so that we can keep it going.
Because our costs have gone up.
That's right. Or you can go right over there to our sponsors page and make use of some of those sponsors, such as V2 Cigs or My Freedom Smokes, because they have some high-quality merchandise there for you. Or you could keep your identity secure with LifeLock, or keep your emergency food storage supplies up with myfoodstorage.com.
Or keep your bacon stock up with high-quality bacon products through baconfreak.com.
Speaking of bacon, we will even have a bacon-flavored e-liquid. How about that? How about that?
Because I don't think you can get that through Bacon Freak.
No. Also, take a look over that while you're, trolling around our website there. Take a look over at our channels page, because we don't just have Honest Answer Radio over here at honestanswerradio.com. We also have Sports World Radio with Sean and Jeff, fastest hour in sports on the internet. We got Challenge from the Heart with Pastor Rick Hope, who will challenge your heart and give you hope with his message from our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Also, another great friend of the show,
GoingBeyondRadio.com. Because, let me tell y'all, you can find Honest Answer Radio at GoingBeyondRadio.com.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also find financial shows. You can find some paranormal shows. They got a whole
technology shows.
They got a whole menu of different programming over there, and they're on so many different broadcast platforms now. You can get them like Live 365, Shoutcast, iTunes, Roku, Blueberry, Tuned In. So if you've got your mobile phone, you can get them all these different ways.
And tell him that Marty and Casey sent you, man.
Absolutely.
Tell Chuck we said hey. Well, all right, man. This is Tuesday, so that means we'll be back again on Thursday. I can't wait to see what happens in the meantime. But rest assured,
rootin' tootin' Vladimir Putin's gonna get up to in 2 days like the Duke boys.
Or we might even get to see John Kerry's head spin around just a few more times, man, between now and then, because his nuanced approach is probably going to be backfiring on him even more. So in the meantime, you guys just keep your head down, keep your eyes open, be good to each other, and don't forget, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sin and will heal their land. We'll see you guys on Thursday.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.